Hello everyone, this is Evan Serchuk with Sonicware, and in today's video I'm going to show you all the synth engines in the LIVEN 8-bit warps. You can see here there's four synth engines: the warp, attack, morph, and FM. And you can see all the parameters of the synth engines actually up here in this little chart. You can see, the synth engine and then the parameters that are tweakable by these three knobs. And then you can see sometimes next to them there's like a slash. That means that that's a setting that would be accessed by holding down Shift and then one of these three knobs. So anyway, let's dive in. I have some presets that I've set up to demonstrate these modes, but if you ever wanted to change what oscillator mode you're using, you just hit Shift and then you can select the one that you want to use. But in this case, since I have some memories in the LIVEN, presets are called memories. So you go over here to this memory button and you can see that there's banks here of memories, and then if I tap again, that gets to, well, if it's green, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 of those 4 banks. And then if I tap again, that gets to bank 5, 6, 7, and 8. But in this case, I'm just going to be using bank 1, so I make sure it's green. And then I want to reset this memory because I've been tweaking it. So I'm going to switch to a different one. And then I'll just go to memory again and go back to the first one that I want to show. The first memory utilizes the warp synth engine. So the warp synth engine allows you to pick one waveform, one single cycle waveform, and then the second single cycle waveform, and then you can use this knob here to crossfade between the two. So yeah, let's check this out. So if I select a note here, you can see if I crossfade, I go between this kind of square wave here, and then I can just go over to more of a saw wave sound. And then usually the easiest way to program this is to push it all the way over to one side. And then from there, you can choose one of the waveforms. So I have it all the way to the right. So that means you'll only be hearing wave 2. So if I just hold down a note and then I turn over here, you can see these are all user waveforms, which are empty right now, but you'll be able to use the capture function to record them into the LIVEN directly. So if I scroll over to here, we get into all these different, ooh, that one's very cool. We get into all the different preset waveforms. And it's a little bit, there's a lot of waveforms in here, so if you feel like you can't get to an exact one, you can just go over to the value knob right here, and that'll let you scroll through one by one. And this one's an encoder, and you can feel it kind of click. Ooh, edge is always a good one. Let's. Ooh, that one feels great. So now I can go all the way over to the other side. And ooh, that one's nice and bassy. Nice little square wave one. Ooh, that's good. Okay, cool. So now that I've chosen my two waveforms, I can use the crossfade to crossfade between them. And let's pick one that's actually a little mellower on one side. Crossfade all the way. Yeah, that one has a lot of distinct character versus the other one. So now if I crossfade again. Oof. Yeah, and then let's try it with the filter. Ooh, I love bass sounds. And then if I wanted to get more fancy, I could also change the detune here. And that's just like the unison detune. So if I turn, now if I play. And then I could also, if I wanted to get even more fancy, I could turn on one of the effects. So I do that by hitting Shift. And okay, you can see that the chorus is already selected. So that's the delay. This is the chorus. And then if I keep holding down Shift, I can turn up the amount here. Let's see what that sounds like. It's a little bit too much, but it's still. Let's try that. The next synth engine I want to show you is the attack engine. So if I want to access the next preset that uses the attack engine, I'm just going to go to memory and then go to the second preset. Once again, yeah, you could hit Shift and you can see here it's already switched to the attack mode. So this synth engine cuts between one oscillator and another one. So if I hit a note, you'll hear it audibly switch between one and another. So let's try that. And then I'm going to turn off the reverb just by hitting Shift. You can see it says reverb right there, so I'm going to turn that all the way down. That's better. Yeah, so you can hear it switch between one and another. And then you can see, just like with Warp, you can choose the first wave shape, the second, single cycle waveform, and then you can, this last knob, instead of crossfading between one and the other, it determines the amount of time that it takes for it to switch to the other one. So you can see here, if I hold down a note, now if I turn this down, and then what's kind of cool about this one is if you bump it up a couple of octaves, let's bump it up to like here. Let's try this. We almost have the coin sound. So let's adjust a couple of things about this preset to get that right. So what we want to do is the attack is correct. It should be like an instant attack, but then we want to set the sustain. So that's a shift parameter. So I'm going to hit Shift, turn that all the way down, and then I'm going to set the decay correctly. So yeah, that's another shift parameter. So I'm holding down Shift, and then let's try that. Oh, not quite. There we go. And then if we want to make it more four-dimensional. We can go back to shift again and turn on the reverb. Let's try that. That sounds pretty cool. This oscillator mode is also great for making basses. You can tell that's my favorite kind of sound. But we can go down here and bump down a couple octaves. And we'll turn off the reverb again. And you can kind of hear that the first of the two waves has like a nice kind of little high-end crunchy poppy part to it. So what I can do is for bass sounds, if I want to emulate the kind of feeling of when the string is either slapped by the thumb or just plucked, that kind of more noisy portion of the sound, I can just change the attack time. And then what I can do is go to the wave 1, and choose even one that's a little noisier. And then we can add a little bit of detune as well. The third engine I want to talk about is the Morph engine. So I'm going to hit memory again and go to my third memory in here. And you see shift is using the morph mode. The morph mode is a 3 wave shape it is a 3 wave shape it is a 3 waveform wavetable oscillator, and you can see here it allows you to set wave 1 and then shift for it allows you to set wave 1, wave 2, and wave 3 here, and then it allows you to set the retrigger. So that would be if you wanted it to start on wave 1 every time you hit a note, or if you wanted it to just freely cycle among those 3. So anytime you hit a note, you'd never know which one exactly, which part of the wavetable it would be in. So that's if you want something that's a little more unpredictable. And then you can see here there is the time parameter, and the time parameter allows you to affect the speed that it's cycling through the wavetable. But anyway, let's just listen to it, and you'll know exactly what I mean. And then I'm going to mess around with this detune right here. Let's try an even lower note. That is the morph mode. Yeah, it sounds really good. And it doesn't just sound good in the low end. It can sound really good in the high end as well. So let's bump up a couple octaves. The last synth engine I want to show you is the FM synth engine. It is a 2-operator FM synth. So if I want to get to my preset that uses that synth engine, I'm just going to hit memory, and then I'm going to click on this one, the fourth memory in that bank. And then I can check to make sure it's using the FM engine. I can change the engine by holding Shift and then selecting one of these. So right now you can see the FM engine is selected. So here's what it sounds like. We'll get into that rate parameter later. But yeah, so essentially you have 2 operators, and then these 2 settings here, the ratio and the level, is how much the second operator affects the first. Easy way to kind of get a grasp of how this works is if I hold down a note here, I'm going to change the level here, and that's going to, you're going to hear it kind of get brighter and richer sounding. So I'll turn it all the way down first. You can hear it's kind of like not a lot of harmonics going on there, but then if I turn it up, cool. And then if I set it to a point that I like, I can affect kind of the ratio between the 2 operators that are being multiplied. And essentially what that means is that it's going to add more inharmonic or like non-regular harmonics. So you get more metallic sounds. Yeah, so here's what that sounds like. And then you can go back and affect the level again. And it sounds really good with the detune as well. We'll keep that clean for now. And then what you can do here with the rate is you can decide, you can modulate different parts of this algorithm. So in this case, let's say I want to have this LFO be affecting the level. So all I have to do is hit Shift And then I'm going to set the depth of that. So how much that rate is going to be affecting it. So now if I hit this, and then I'm going to turn up the rate a little bit. And I might hit shift while I'm holding down a note. I'm going to dump down. There we go. I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to hit this one, and that's going to change the depth of it, so I can up that a little bit. And then I might just dial it down a little bit. So that becomes the center point by which, from there it's being rate modulated. So I might just turn that down just a little bit so it's more subtle. And then I can also have that rate affect the ratio as well. So that kind of changes the inharmonicness of the tone. So yeah, let's try that as well. So I'll hit shift. And then I'm actually going to turn that rate down a little bit. And if I wanted to add even more interest to that sound, what I could do is hit shift, and you can see that the chorus is on. I think it's all the way turned off on this patch, like the amount. So if I hold down a note, and then I go over here to amount, so I'm holding out shift and it says effects. That's pretty wild. And then I could add some, mess around with the detune and see what that does as well. Mess around with depth. So then also, if you hold down shift and you adjust here, it affects how that LFO modulation is affecting these two parameters, the ratio and the level. So right now it's set before it was set to sine, but now it's set to square. So if I hold down a note, you can hear it change. Now it's going to be instant. So you can start getting some really interesting stuff going on here. So let's try upping the rate here. we could try the different shapes. This one's kind of like a random shape. Let's see what that sounds like really fast. I actually really like the saw one's really cool. And one possible workflow with this is that, like, let's say you have a sequence going on. These are all things that you could change in real time while the sequence is going. So let's play this sequence. So I hope that gives you an idea of all four of the synth engines in the LIVEN. We're still refining them and making changes, and even some of the the silk screen in different places just for UI. Let us know if you have any questions about how the Synth Engines work. Feel free to leave a comment, or you can send me a direct message. Either way, let's keep the conversation going, and thank you so much for pledging to the Sonicware LIVEN 8-bit warps.